I decided to rewatch a movie from my childhood that brought me hours of entertainment. So much time had passed since having my VHS copy that I had forgotten most of the plot, nor did I have any sense of plot points or appreciation for coherent story back then, and prepared I was f***ing not for the roller coaster of pure happiness I received upon revisiting this film. A little bit of context and history before I start overanalyzing this movie to shreds. This was the third film under the direction of Stephen Miner. His first two films were Friday the 13th Part 2 and 3, with an assistant director's role in the original. The horror icon of Jason Voorhees was a huge success and spawned tons of sequels. Fresh off a horror classic two-hitter, I imagine either a studio gave Steve free range to tell his own horror story, because that's always a great idea, or he went indie with it. Which of these scenarios is true, I have no desire to research. Let's see what this artist has in store with his newfound talents for creating horror icons. The movie opens to a young man on a scooter making a delivery. He lets himself inside, and upon hearing no response from the house, starts to snoop around.
Sick.
Oh no, hung old ladies swinging from the ceiling. Cut to burial scene where this wealthy old woman only has 3 people at her funeral, one of which is our protagonist, Roger Cobb. After some forced conversation dropping vague suggestions she wouldn't take her own life, we transition into this totally not jarring shift in tone.
To Cobb some room to sign your books?
Roger is clearly an accomplished author. He has a large following of readers from all walks of life. Most of the people there are starstruck by his appearance. And one fan makes mention of his wife, who's a famous actor, prompting him to ask his manager,
Well, sometimes I invite the girls over.
Your most devoted fans.
as if he doesn't know he's there to sign books for them. So his manager starts to get on his case about fan service. But Roger says he absolutely needs to write a book about his time fighting in the Vietnam War. I'm sure an accomplished writer with all kinds of fans will have an interesting and unique perspective on such a controversial war, and no doubt with an eye-catching hook of a title. Wow. Riveting stuff, Roger. I can see the passion this project is inspiring within you.
I've got to write this book.
Even though he sits right down to write his book, he immediately gets up to call the FBI, who tell him they have no new evidence about his son's disappearance. Then the FBI, in so many words, tell him to chill the f*** out and stop pestering them for results. Immediately after the FBI reassures him that they will call if they gain any leads, the phone starts to ring. He hesitates to answer it, and then starts up some loud music because it was his ex-wife calling?
Hey guys, would you turn that down? I'm on the phone for crying out loud.
There was no caller ID back then. How does he know it's her? This could have been the FBI calling back because they actually did find something new about his son. So after some dialogue reaffirming the facts already established, it looks like there are some pesky dreams bothering our hero. Well, guess I better start packing. Now, for some unexplained reason, Roger is visiting his dead aunt's, and we are introduced to Mr. Realtor. After walking around the house, we then get a flashback about the circumstances of his son's disappearance. So, his son was drowning in the pool, and then disappeared. Clearly a supernatural occurrence. I'm intrigued to see this developed.
Say, whatever happened to this uncle?
Oh, he was diving for abalone off of Point Reyes. Got it.
Oops, sorry about that.
Fuck you, guy. After walking around some more, Roger tells the trigger-happy realtor he's keeping the house to do some work on his book. Immediately after, he stares at the computer screen, probably realizing for the second time how bad he is at story titles, and again gets the fuck up without having written a single word of this book. Now let's play a game of Follow the Spooky Noise. Oh, Auntie back from the dead.
It won, Roger. It tricked me.
Wait, how did the house trick you into hanging yourself? Did the grocery guy get there and the house was just like,
He forgot the milk of magnesia. You should just end it now.
No!
The next morning, we see Roger oogling at a jogger. She's a bitch. I'll get into that later.
Darwin?
We now meet Roger's new neighbor, who has nothing but great things to say about his aunt.
Woman lived here before you was nuts. Biggest bitch under the sun. Just a senile old hag, really.
She was my aunt.
Heart of gold, though. Just a saint, really.
Now it's time for him to get back to work on his masterpiece. Finally, he's writing something, and he has a friend named Ben who's a huge ass.
Charlie, you want?
So
Let
shoot
me have a
anything
cigarette.
that moves.
Come on.
This is strictly a search and destroy mission. So if you see any... All right.
Walking, talking, shooting. I'm starting to think this is less of a book to market and more of a therapeutic journal situation. So he gets distracted by the TV.
Daddy?
My irritation levels are rising. Spooky sound, second round.
I must be going crazy.
Okay, all good. I've gotten creeped out in big houses while I'm alone at night. Perfectly understandable. Time to go back to oh, wait. Midnight? Better check again. I mean, it was an empty closet before, but it's midnight now. What the f***? That was a legitimate selling point of fear for me as a child. Closets for 10 years henceforth. I gotta say, you see so many horror movies where people make a series of bad decisions, and it's pretty refreshing after that scare to see someone taking things seriously.
It doesn't last for long.
What the? Series J? When the f*** did you get in?
Quiet. I'm trying to watch.
Maybe quiet. You're the one always talking during movies.
Hey, Raj.
You had to make your own Assassin's Creed in the 80s. Roger heads back inside to man the battle station. Whoops, nothing there. Wait, so he already saw that this thing wasn't in the closet right before midnight, and he didn't even wait until midnight to open the now surveillanced door? I guess maybe he needed to test the consistency of the midnight rule in this and get an empty closet on camera first? Sounds reasonable.
Darwin?
Don't do that! What did I do?
What did you do? Breaking and entering comes to mind. So Roger comes clean to his trespasser about everything. Roger tells Norm his life story, while Norm does everything within his power to remind the audience he's enjoying his meal.
I mean, you've been to Vietnam. Lost your only child.
Eventually, Roger tries to convince a skeptic Norm that the house is haunted. Norm gets on edge and starts heavily excusing himself, swiping the phone book on his way out. It's now well past midnight, and this burglar is making a phone call to an award-winning actor. Award-winning actor takes burglar's vague worry about her husband at face value, and gives him a more private number to reach her than the one he stole. Actor calls writer, who is busy writering. Cut to Vietnam. I don't know much about Vietnam climate during the war, but I know enough to know that I don't want to be smoking f***ing weed in the jungle surrounded by hostile forces.
Forget it, man. No way.
So we get more flashback of Ben being an ass.
You, Charlie.
Yeah, thanks for giving away our position. Real helpful. Is this the intense meat of your newest intellectual property, Roger? Are your adoring fans going to enjoy this literary masterpiece?
No big deal.
I'll treasure this, always.
There's still a f***ing monster upstairs, and you never went back to the door after midnight. So now the fish starts to move because f*** it, and Roger goes straight caveman on it.
Just stop moving, for Christ's sake!
As he searches for a gun, I'm left to wonder if the harpoon wouldn't be more suitable for this task.
Got it.
We're about halfway through, so let's take stock so far. Disappearing water boy, constipated apparition, ghost kid channel, midnight closet monster, stealthy night thief, restrained wallfish, and now murderous floating tools. All in a night's work. Now actor wife is at the front door. Also, it's morning.
Sandy.
I'm really starting to think this is a f***ed up. So Roger blows a hole through Monster Wife's chest, waking up Norm in the process, who then calls in a suicide attempt. Roger hears cops coming and hides the body. Roger then sits on his porch, cleaning his gun until they show up, and then claims an accidental discharge. To which the cops drop all suspicion because white and famous in that order. One cop asks to use the bathroom, which then sets up a long scene that's more irritating than suspenseful.
What are you doing?
Ultimately, he ushers out anybody who can help him with any of the crazy shit going on. Okay, so apparently wife is not dead and still going through a phase.
You'll never find your son. Say your prayers.
Quick decision. And now time for one of the most inappropriate song choices to montage disposing of your dead wife after she spontaneously becomes fat and ugly.
Feeling better now that we're through. Feeling better 'cause I'm over you. You're no good, you're no good, you're no good. Baby, you're no good. I'm gonna say it again.
What tone is this song supposed to imply during the act of covering up a domestic murder? This guy gave us Jason. Now Jogger Girl is just using his pool. Did people just take advantage of his senile aunt and can't stop now that she's dead?
I used to come and swim here when your aunt lived here. I hope you don't think I'm imposing or anything.
Jogger Lady starts seducing Roger while the corpse of his wife starts acting up.
I can tell when a man wants to work. I can also tell when a man wants to play. Bye. You're no good, you're no good, you're no good. Baby, you're no good. I'm gonna say it again.
So now Norm's dog has dug up his dead wife's hand. Problematic? Who's at the door? Oh, it's Jogger Lady. As she decides to open up with this absolute scandalous reveal.
Ready to play? This is my son Robert, and he really loves to play.
So now this stranger he only talked to a few hours ago, after she assumed it was okay to use his pool without his permission, has the absolute oaths to employ Roger as a babysitter, invoking the same two-faced line she implied meant physical gratification. Fuck off, lady! I wasn't alive in the 80s, but I was under the impression that people have always hated and mistrusted other people. What is happening? In a twist that would make M. Night chub, the kid has the corpse hand on his back.
How did the dog get the hand to the child?
You're overthinking things. Little boy runs off, Roger gives chase, and Jogger starts following along. Roger then commands her to stop following the two. She obeys for some reason. This next part is too ridiculous to put into words.
I got you.
Roger brings the kid back to her as it cries for his mother, and her next words are to ask him to watch the kid for the night while she goes out. Roger chased her kid, demanding she not follow, tackles the kid in the hallway, drags him into the bathroom, and brings him back crying.
You know, Robert will just love you.
So she refuses to take no for an answer and starts to give him objects he's going to need for the night. And it seems like all of these items are already just sitting there off screen, off camera, as if they were already just available in that room. She had only the boy with her at the door and she never left the So Roger puts the kid down for a nap and continues to write his book. Not like there are any more pressing f***ing matters at hand or anything. Not like your track record for kids is spotty or anything.
I've got to write this book.
Nothing takes priority over the story. But seriously, if anyone knows what show he's watching or if it's real, please let me know in the comments.
My sister is an only child and you abused her. I can never forgive you for that.
I can't hide the fact that I've been a male prostitute my entire life, Julie.
Now the boy is gone. Whoever could have predicted such an event would occur? The boy is now being abducted by these two new monster things. They then make him the object of a game of tug-of-war, one which would have certainly dislocated his joints or worse. Immediate cut to a bath scene where everything is fine.
Norman?
Fun fact, this is Norm's first consensual visit into this house. Roger invites Norm over under the pretense of a movie, but instantly voluntells him to man the cameras for a big reveal.
Here we go.
After a struggle, Midnight Closet Monster is skewed with a harpoon that's connected to a f***ing fishing pole. Roger gets his foot caught, and Norm continues to be useless. Roger is now dragged back into Nam, or what is manifested for his deep repressed guilt for whatever happened with Ben, I don't know. Apparently the climax of his 4-page war memoir is Ben asking him for a quick death, and Roger not having the stomach to do so.
I can't do it. I can't do it. I'm hurt. Man, I'm gonna go get help. Man, I'm gonna go get help. No!
He runs to get help, and Ben is captured as a POW, vowing his revenge as he's dragged away. So now, for no reason, Roger walks back to the previously mentioned unfinished painting by his aunt in the garage. He pulls a rag back, and it reveals his son pressed to the inside of the mirror in the bathroom. Roger then runs upstairs to the mirror depicted in the painting, and tosses an object through at full force. I always laugh at the thought of the painting being literal, and he just smashes his son in the face with a broken glass and a footstool. Now he's staring into the abyss of an endless underworld dimension, where he proceeds to be grabbed by a feisty tentacle, followed by several of the finest monster effects Party City has to offer. After hearing the echo of his son's voice, he dons a rope and pushes play on the Stranger Things soundtrack. Roger descends into darkness because he has no reason to assume any of the supernatural forces can replicate the presence of loved ones to trick him. Then we get a healthy dose of comedic disconnect. Now we're back in Korea or wherever the f***, and Roger finds his son who seems not to have aged. I'm not sure if they ever mentioned how long it's been since his disappearance. I mean, if the FBI is giving him the runaround, I imagine it would be long enough to exhaust every theory. Months? Years? F*** it. They dive into the water and swim forward 10 feet, resurfacing in the f***ing pool of this fucking...
Sucker!
Oh, balls. Ben a zombie now.
And he done vowed revengings.
I'll get you for this! No!
No Girl Scout cookies. So now Ben chases Roger around the house, and it takes forever. He runs out the back door, and oh shit, his backyard is a cliff now. Just as our protagonist is about to be dropped from the edge of this out of f***ing nowhere cliff, he digs deep and summons his inner Indiana Jones. I laughed so hard at this climax. I was having a blast. The f***. Okay, so Roger gets his hand chopped off, and his hand didn't actually get chopped off, implying any damage that can be done to him is just a psychological effect of that. Doesn't exactly excuse the claw marks on his chest, but okay. I guess he was never in any real danger unless something physically picked him up and carried him into the other realm? Is that what happened to his son? Well, don't worry about any of that, because Roger politely takes his son back and then pulls the pin out of a grenade.
Sucker! Roger, no! I'll get you for this!
Actor wife shows up in a cab just in time to witness the triumphant emergence of her ex-husband and missing son. Hero pose, freeze frame, fade. Now let's get us another dose of that totally appropriate soundtrack.
Feeling better now that we're through. Feeling better 'cause I'm over you.
What did we learn, Palmer?
I don't know, sir.
I don't know either.
Well, that sure was a fun journey. Reflecting on this film, I'm not sure what to feel. I was amused, confused, frustrated at times, but overall, I was entertained, as I hope all of you were. I look forward to covering and discovering new twisted cinematic adventures. No ratings or deep analysis. I think we all just deserve a break after this particular roller coaster of emotion. Any movies you'd like to see me cover in the future, be sure to leave a comment or shoot me a tweet. Have a great day, so saith the leaf.